Hello and welcome to the Guardian Football Weekly. Carrick's at the wheel, a second stunning win in a row. Cunha's beautiful winner. Patrick Dorgu going full Yeboah. How quickly things can change. Arsenal's first home defeat of the season and prompting all the usual questions. Will they fall short once again? Why don't they try scoring from open play? Do they need a striker? Elsewhere, another last-minute winner for Bournemouth, piling more pressure on Arne Slot. Spurs are sticking with Frank, but could they be dragged into a relegation fight? What about Palace? Their wretched run continues. While West Ham and Forest both win, just making it a little tighter down there. At the top, Villa won away while City get back on the train. Semenyo's good, isn't he, Barry? And Harry Wilson is still on for Player of the Season. We'll answer your questions, and that's today's Guardian Football Weekly. On the panel today, Robyn Cowen, welcome.
Good morning, Max.
Hello, Will Unwin.
Good morning, Max.
And from the Racing Post, Mark Langdon.
Hi, Max.
Let's start then at the Emirates. Arsenal 2, Manchester United 3. Sam says it would be pretty harsh for United not to offer Carrick the job when he eventually wins the league. It was a great game, Mark. One of the best of the season. And look, Carrick has beaten City and Arsenal his first 2 games in charge. And when you add that to what he managed in his last interim little spell, it's incredibly impressive.
Yeah, fantastic start. I don't think you get too excited in terms of the long term and kind of, right, let's give him the
Come
job
on,
now.
Let them get carried away. Mark.
I think,
okay.
United have been here before and, maybe made that mistake. But you can't do any better than what he's done. Putting people in positions that they feel comfortable in. He's clearly boosted confidence. Like the energy that's returned to the team just looked so lacking under Ruben Amorim, particularly in those final stages. Fernandes in the rightful position. It's weird, isn't it? Because you just assumed that the Manchester United manager would know more about football than the kind of general person on the street. And yet, I think nearly all of us were going, Fernandes can't play in this deep role. He has to be closer to the striker. And it turns out that kind of we were right and Ruben Amorim was wrong. The fans are right behind it. And yeah, it was just a great game. It was a really exciting match. And I think it was last week I'd been talking to a mate and just bemoaning the quality of the Premier League. I think since Christmas, a lot of draws, a lot of 0-0s. I don't know if that's just the kind of the teams I'm watching maybe instead, but it did feel quite dull. And so to have a game like that and between two, sort of giants who don't like each other as well, I really enjoyed it.
Was it Barry? It sounds like a conversation you could be having with Barry at any given time in the last 10 years. Look, two brilliant goals. I mean, Dorgu's is thrilling, isn't it? That's what you want from a goal.
Yeah, it's kind of also to carry on from Mark's point about Ruben Amorim, because Dorgu was clearly wasted as a wing-back, and now look where he is, and he's still, he was preferred there to Cunha because he's still pretty good defensively. Fantastic goal from him, and also the Cunha one. I mean, I think, some people would say when you look at the XG, they had 3 shots on target, they scored with all of them, and it was 0.73, I think, Manchester United. But in terms of Cunha in particular, we've seen him do that a lot, haven't we? It wasn't that surprising. That was a gorgeous strike. It's the Amorim thing is almost like, it's almost seemingly, it's like he's trying to be in the producers, like doing the producers style thing. Like he went in and failed on purpose to get this huge payout. He's gone the Mel Brooks route. It's kind of seeming like that more and more now. He's like, what was he thinking with all this? He's got us all.
I mean, I suppose it'd be interesting to see, Will, how they do against, what they've got. Fulham, I mean, Spurs, who the hell knows? West Ham, like teams that are less likely to just be able, like they picked City off and they picked Arsenal off. They played how you'd expect to play against those sides. It'd be quite interesting when they are expected to have the ball.
Yeah, but at the same time, Carrick's come up with this cunning plan of playing this young lad called Kobe Mainu from the academy. I mean, not many people had heard about him. Amorim hadn't. No one had told Amorim about this fella, who's decent on the ball and whatnot. Right. So, yeah, that's fair. That's club knowledge that Carrick brings.
It's DNA, isn't it?
It is. But, I mean, he's got the momentum, which Amorim never had. Players seem to like him, which Amorim never seemed to have. So they can adapt. You look at the bench yesterday, Cunha came off the bench and did what he did. Sesko came off the bench and did a job. They've got options. They can actually change it up. Carrick will have a different plan against these teams rather than going, let's play what we did last week when we lost and see how it goes. All right. Okay. Well, cheers, Ruben. And that's it. They are a bit more malleable with this setup. There's lots of voices involved. Steve Holland, Johnny Evans, Travis Binion, a very smart appointment that does know the club, but is regarded around the country as a very, very good coach. And
who's he? Who's he?
He was the under-21s manager at United. I guess possibly still is, technically. And he was brought in by Fletcher because Fletcher had a lot of time for him. You speak to a lot of people in the Championship. They've sort of been, wondering if he'll make the move to become a manager in his own right. And so the smart appointments, and it's having all these different voices. Whereas I think I couldn't say 100%, but I think a lot of Amorim's staff were disciples of Amorim and agreed with everything he said. Whereas I suspect there's a bit more of a discussion now. Hence why nothing changed with Amorim. Whereas now, it's difficult to leave out people like Cunha or put Dorgu in where he hasn't played before. But they're making these decisions. Fine, Fernandes is where he should be, but no one was really going, I tell you what, Dorgu could play there, or Mbeumo's going to be the best number 9 by himself. But he's really doing that role. They're really quick on the counter. And as I say, I think they will have a different option against these other teams. And that's it. And Mark said it, just players wanting to play, happy. If at other times, I reckon Cunha being dropped by Amorim probably would have been pretty upset, whereas now he comes on and he makes a difference, and that's what he wants to do. And Robyn said that is the goal he made at Wolves. I did a lot of Wolves last season, always doing that. And I guess finally, on these points, the defence seems to work. Harry Maguire's might even earn a new contract, which is amazing. He was incredible. And this is it, just everyone playing in the right roles, being happy, playing sensible football, and it unnerved Arsenal enough that they got on top in the end after a very difficult spell. They saw United went behind, but they dug in and they turned it around.
Yeah, Cunha does have that, oh, sod it, I'll just score a goal. He did that for Wolves so many times, didn't he? And, it was great to see him do it here. I mean, to Arsenal then, Mark, Ale says, chicken's coming home to roost. You'll never convince me Arteta isn't a Waitrose Pulis, which is a great line. And look, they were ahead, and Zubimeni gifts Mbeumo the opener, but it had been coming, like Fernandes had got through twice. And there are now, and of course, Arsenal are still in the best position out of all the teams in the Premier League, in the Champions League. Like, the season is still good, but because of what's happened in the last 2 years, you can just feel the terror and the panic. Yeah,
there is this sort of maybe feeling that they almost want it too much, and like there's every time they don't win it, like, oh no, the same thing's going to happen again. But I think you hit the nail on the head a moment ago, Max. Like, they're in the best position. They are still 4 points clear. They've won the Champions League phase. They're in the semi-final of the League Cup and a goal up against Chelsea. They're in the FA Cup fourth round with a decent enough draw. Like, anyone would swap with where Arsenal are, but because of what's happened previously, there is just this feeling. 2 points from the last 3 Premier League games. Of those, there were 2 0-0 draws and then an own goal and a set piece, and that they are scoring and do score a lot of goals from set pieces. And it's not the first time we've said this, you'd want to see more from open play, but they are so brilliant at set pieces. It doesn't. I don't think it really matters where the goals come from, because this is not a fluke how many goals they score from corners. So now I think it's just part of their kind of DNA and the remit. So I wouldn't be panicking too much. United are a funny old side. They are capable of beating anybody and then losing to anyone. So I wouldn't panic. I don't know if that kind of doesn't really sort of fit into the narrative of what you're supposed to say about Arsenal, but they've got a great squad. I would disagree with the Arteta Pulis reference. Like, he's a good manager. They've got good players. Just one of them games where it didn't go for them. I think they really deserve to be 1-0 up. They give a silly goal away, which they don't normally do. I wouldn't go too sort of two-footed on Arsenal here.
Fair enough. That's a shame. But Robyn, no, that's okay. It does say something about the whole point of loving football, that even some of these fans can't enjoy it. So when Mark has listed where they are in all the competitions, and even they are like finding this stressful. Like, why do any of us do it to ourselves?
Oh, well, it's the rush, isn't it? I just almost we're kind of a bit masochistic, aren't we? I mean, I think Mark makes the point that I think if Man City were 4 points clear, we'd say it's done, wouldn't we? Yeah. That's the thing. But because it's Arsenal, it's almost like, and it's been so long, we kind of don't trust them until they've like got the title in their hands. Now, it's not. I wouldn't compare this. The comparison isn't totally comparable, but Leicester City in 2016, like everyone kept saying they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. It's just not going to happen until, I don't know when people started to say they're going to do it. But it feels a little bit like that. Now, I'm not comparing the two, but I think it's just because of the recent history of Arsenal. That's kind of where we were. So it's kind of like we're not going to trust them until they're, they basically got their hands on the trophy. Just one other point I want to make on this game. I think on a notebook of places I'd least like to be, a 6-yard box from an attacking Arsenal corner. My God, can you imagine how claustrophobic? It just looked awful. I was just thinking, oh wow, this is. Can you? I was thinking,
it's a tube at rush hour, isn't it? It is.
Yeah.
It is the Piccadilly line at 8:45.
And no one making eye contact. They're all just, but they're
yeah, exactly. No one...
pushing and pulling each other without looking at each other.
Can you all move down? Can you all move down, please? And you're all thinking it, but no one says it. You're absolutely right. I suppose the way of, Will, the nature of the defeat, because when they get it to 2-2 from a corner like that, you think there's only one winner here. And like when Cunha scores, nobody wants to see Ian Wright sad, right? There are lots of listeners who wouldn't mind Arsenal messing this up, but no one wants to see Righty sad. I would say, actually, Will, Arteta has been impressively calm this season whenever there's been a setback, and there haven't been many. And I thought he was again this time.
Well, this is it. You say they are in the dominant position. They do have a very good squad. I mean, you watched them against Inter midweek. They made 7 changes and pretty easily beat a very good Serie A team. These moments happen, and we're looking at it, and it's a negative at the moment, 2 points from 9. That is bad when you're top of the league and you win. They've got the upside that City are so inconsistent. I don't think anyone's really backing them at the moment to put a run together, but obviously they do have that capability. The main thing here is just how you react, and that's it. If it carries on for another couple of games, then we can start asking questions. Losing at home to United, you've got to say, next few games, we're going to be at it. Admittedly, midweek, they're playing against Carrick Almighty, where I suspect there'll be some random people in the team. But when Premier League comes back next week, they've got to be at it. They've got to make a statement and say, look, we're not bottlers. Fine, we've lost a game, drawn a couple 0-0, etc. And they've got to change the mindset. Because I think you look at that Zubamendi mistake, he didn't pass it to Rice, first of all. Then the second thing is, he could have just opened himself up and he had loads of space to go forward. And it just seems a little bit nervous, a little bit tense, that they need to get that out of the system. And maybe, hopefully for Arsenal and their fans, that losing a game like this will change it. They'll think a bit more positively. I think we actually do need to be on the front foot a bit more, because appreciate how good they are at set pieces. But if someone actually does manage to find a way of stopping those, which everyone else will copy, then they could be in a bit of trouble. So I think they just need to be a bit more on the front foot, a bit more aggressive, and take a few more risks. You look at United, you say the XG is 0.7, 2 absolute stunning finishes from distance and whatnot, and obviously a mistake. Maybe, you need a bit more of that, a bit more risk-taking that they're probably not having at the moment.
Dave says, what did you make of the Arsenal-Liverpool game? Yes, I did announce Arsenal playing Liverpool in the intro to last Thursday's pod, and mentioned it again during the pod. Fortunately, none of the panelists were listening to me. Neither was the producer or the exec producer. So it's a root and branch review. It's like Bazball. Something's gone. We've all gone complacent. Who knows what's wrong with it? But you have my apologies. I did a very mournful social media apology, which hopefully got all the haters off my back. But
I hope you weren't photographed out enjoying yourself, Max.
No, Robyn. I have at no point was I photographed out anywhere after the hours of 4 p.m.
And Max, it showed Max just how forgetful that Arsenal-Liverpool game was about 2 weeks ago. That
I know
it completely slipped your mind.
Yeah, I was more concerned when Max kept saying about how well Stig and Bjornaby would be up against Anders Limpar. So,
Hey, it never got better than those times, did it? Ben says, I think you might be doing an Arne Slot related voice note. I mean, it can't surely be that time. But look, Liverpool lost at Bournemouth. That joyless unbeaten run is over. But perhaps they wish they were still on it. Robyn, should we be on Arne Slot voice note watch yet?
That would surprise me a lot. I mean, I know it's been underwhelming. Obviously, they had a very underwhelming 13-match unbeaten run that was ended, and I know Liverpool fans felt this was very familiar to them. And you've got to say, having fought back from 2 goals down, to lose from a long throw is pretty tough to take, isn't it? In the pissing rain as well. That is really, really tough to take. And I thought that was a good scrambled goal. But then you sent us the WSL2 goal, the Sunderland winner, which was even better. That went on for about 10 minutes. Then everyone having a swing and trying to put that in the goal. Absolutely
so fun.
Glorious.
I couldn't work out, Mark, if that was a brilliant finish from Adley at the end of it, or if he just got lucky.
No, I felt he meant it. I didn't realise that was a debate. I thought it was. I thought it was an outstanding. I thought it was an outstanding finish. Just on Arne Slot, I think it's one of the most interesting things for me is that I'm not inside the stadium. Liverpool fans are not calling for Slot to go, but I definitely feel like there's a large section of the fan base, like even regular match goers, that are wanting him to leave, but don't necessarily want to be that aggressive and make it toxic inside the stadium. And I'm not sure that's been picked up at a national level, which is quite surprising for a team of Liverpool's size, really. That I think Slot probably should be under more pressure, given the way the fans are feeling about him at the moment. Not just the results, the football gone very negative. I know this was a 3-2, but generally speaking, he seems to have really lost his way and is unable to turn it around at the moment. Just another mess, really, from Liverpool. They disorganised, was it 6-7 minutes to make a substitution, which left them down to 10 men. They're making a lot of mistakes and just don't look like as cohesive as they were, obviously, last season. But I mean, I would be surprised if they got rid of him just because he won the league last season. But I'd be equally surprised to see him still there next season.
Wow, that's interesting. Surely that gives you some grace, doesn't it? And these players have time to gel. And of course, we've talked a lot about Diogo Jota. Like Mo Salah's got a lot of criticism, Will, for not really performing. He wasn't great again in this game. But sort of Van Dijk doesn't get criticised because he's a Rolls Royce, but he seemed very much like a Rolls Royce in park, didn't he? During this game.
Yeah, I mean, that mistake. Football is always about little moments, and as you say, he doesn't get criticism because he's seen as so reliable. And let's be honest, he generally is, But at the same time, they spent the summer trying to find Marguerite to slot in as a left centre-back. But yeah, those moments where he wasn't even under any pressure. Like, that's the thing. It's not like someone was, really up against him. He just lost what he was doing. He's sort of quite confused. And when your captain's doing things like that, when he's the spokesperson for the team, he is the leader. He runs the team meetings when he has to. When he's making mistakes like that, you must sort of think, oh no, we're in the excrement here, aren't we? It's so difficult conditions, difficult team, and that's it. It's problematic when you've got senior players not doing well. And you saw what happened with Salah when he wasn't in the team, when he was dropped. He really went for it. I don't think Van Dijk wouldn't act in the same way, I suspect. But yeah, when you've got senior players not doing their part, people that you've relied on last season, you look at all the tight games that Liverpool won, it was because Van Dijk was really good at the back and Salah had a moment of genius. And there was a lot of those, a lot of one-goal margins, and those things make a big difference. Look, Slot's had a lot of problems to contend with the season of injuries. Also shows how difficult it is to integrate 4 new players. It's really hard, even if they're excellent, because they won't play in the same position.
Although someone would say Sunderland have done it amazingly well. I don't know why it's different, but maybe it is.
Well, Sunderland, I've said before on here that Sunderland have done really well, and it is the most difficult thing when you've got a whole new squad. But I think probably more out and wanting to get quality Liverpool, we've got players that probably don't fit into the system as well, whereas Sunderland bought players for each position perfectly. So Wirtz is, not really found a role yet. He's sort of been moved around left, centre, and he's trying to learn what the other players want, because he's clearly an exceptional player. He's got those passes in his head, but probably not the players running off to find them. And when you buy number 9 that's now got a broken leg, turned up unfit, etc., it's difficult. I think Slot will get to the end of the season, and therefore he'll get the start of the summer and the start of next season. I think what is telling from Friday, where it looked like Robertson was going to go, and Liverpool seemed quite happy about it. They've thought, actually, we need him here. He's going to stick about because we need experience, we need bodies, and we need calm heads in a tricky stage. So,
and actually, because even though maybe they were doing right by Robertson because he deserves to go on his own terms with what he's done for that club, it was really unpopular among the fan base because of how loved that guy is. And so I think it is a stroke of luck, even if he doesn't play that much football for Liverpool, that they've managed to keep him. Mark, just on Bournemouth, Dr. Tottenham are amazing, aren't they? They're not to West Ham or on a run now. Bournemouth are unbeaten. They did lose on penalties in the Cup to Newcastle, but, in the league, they're unbeaten after that victory. They've got injury problems as well. Like the pass through to Jimenez for that goal was brilliant. And like 2 injury time wins, against Tottenham and Liverpool in the last few games are just, and suddenly you shoot up the table. They're 4 points off the European places.
Yeah, I sort of never worried about them when they were dropping coaches is outstanding. You could maybe swap the 2 coaches. I'd like to see what he would do at Liverpool, for instance, just in terms of stylistically. I think they're a really well-run club. They know what they're doing from a recruitment point of view. Like Will was talking there about kind of integrating new players. Like Bournemouth lost so many defenders in the summer, and so and to top teams as well. So it's been difficult, I think, for Areola, and they have conceded a lot of goals, but it's meant for exciting games. They always play on the front foot. They're always trying to score goals. Semenyo goes in January, and they're still able to beat Liverpool 3-2. So I think that that's a great sort of effort from them to not be in that relegation conversation, because I think when you lose that amount of players in the summer as they did, I think lesser teams and lesser coaches might have sort of found themselves in and around that bottom 3.
Burnley 2, Spurs 2. Dr. Tottenham, not even Dr. Tottenham could give Burnley a win. Will, you were there, and you in your report you said Burnley deserved this. I only saw the highlights, but it looked a bit like Burnley's draw at Liverpool, where if Liverpool take their chances, they're out of sight. If Tottenham take their chances, they win this comfortably. Or have I been duped by the edit?
If anyone takes the chances and they're out of sight, Max, I think. But yeah, both teams had numerous opportunities at times, good spells. I think Burnley have performances in them, and every post-match press conference from Scott Parker involves the phrase fine margins, and unfortunately they're generally on the wrong side of them, which is just a difference in quality they have, that they don't have maybe the killer instincts, etc., that's required. They're looking very composed and organised, considering that, they prior to that, I think they scored 23 and 22 for kickoff. You've got to look at Spurs, where you're playing 3 centre-backs against a team that don't create much. It's very sort of negative, pretty mediocre football. When they did score, that was amid their best spell, I'd say. They started dominating midfield, Danso or Van der Ven were getting in there to add the extra man, and that got them on top. But just not much about that team at the moment, Dubravka did make some saves, but there was nothing to inspire much confidence that things are going to get any better. Playing against a Burnley team that, let's be honest, are going to get relegated. And when you go 1-0 up, again in that spell of good performance, really, Champions League team should build on that. They should have that ability to go on and kick on and go, right, fine, we've got this lot. They've not got much about them. No offense to Burnley. But they didn't. It was sort of similar with Newcastle at Burnley a few weeks ago, although Newcastle are going to win. They had a bit more about them. And just sort of, dropped off. The defence was all over the place. Brozier got through a couple of times. There's a bit more invention from Edwards, and Anthony misplaced a lot of passes. But yeah, Tottenham just couldn't really cope with a Burnley team for long periods, and the crowd got on them. But yeah, Burnley just tired again. And, there is a bit of bottle with Romero, and that header is sort of a big bullet. But I'd say a draw was the fairest result. I don't think either team could go away claiming that they'd absolutely dominated. Thomas Frank might disagree, but I think
sure. If they can't cope with Burnley, then can they cope with Man City, Man United, Newcastle, Arsenal next? Mark, are you surprised Thomas Frank is still there?
Yes, I am. I think the fans have now made it very clear. Like when you lose the away fans, that really is like you feel like it's the end point, but clearly it's not. But I think they nicked the Birmingham song of sideways and backwards everywhere we go, when every time the ball was passed backwards. Thomas Frank, your football is shit. Thomas Frank, we want you to go. You're getting sacked in the morning. And this was at points when they weren't even losing some of this. So it's clear that the fans feel like they've got to make this noise and make it so toxic that Wenger, the new CEO, has no choice but to make a change. I think from his point of view, he's thinking, he's new into the job. You don't want to just listen to the fans every time something's going wrong, because you could be in this position in 6 months' time, and you do need to give a manager a period to make things better. I just don't think this one is going to make things better. Just in terms of this game, I felt Tottenham should have been winning at half time, but conceded another cheap goal, and the second half was a mess, really. I felt from both teams that just chaotic football that lacked structure.
Mick says, Mark, who would be your pick as the next Spurs manager?
Iraola would be my first choice if he was willing to sort of leave Bournemouth and go to Tottenham in the summer. The obvious answer outside of that is Pochettino to come in the summer. I'm not sure it will work second time around. I think this is a completely different team and kind of feeling. But until he has another go, I feel like there'll be some fans that will always be calling for him to come in again.
I think in terms of, obviously Frank's failing, Postecoglou won the Europa League but failed. I mean, they're very different managers. Yeah, that's quite obvious. I think the problems really are also above the coaching. The recruitment's been bizarre for a long time. So I appreciate the fans are rightly upset that the football's pretty mediocre under Frank, but somewhere recruitment needs to change. It was why they wanted to sign Robertson. They'd spent so long buying inexperienced players that are very talented, obviously, but just not consistent enough, because that's the nature of young players. But something needs to change. They need to have a different mindset at the top. It's great signing, the best 19-year-olds in Europe, but it needs to be something else, that team. I mean, you look that they're having to bring in Bissouma for his first start of the season after, I think, he had one sub appearance the week before. Yeah, there's something wrong with that recruitment. It's just a bit all over the place. And I think if you're going to change the manager, that's fine and understandable. But I know I appreciate direct football's gone to Fiorentina, but yeah, something else needs to change in the setup, and maybe the chief exec might ponder that and do that to make a positive step going forward. Because if you just keep changing the head coach and everything else stays the same, then nothing's really going to change much.
Jim says, after Oliver Glasner failed to secure an early release from his contract by calling out the board, is he now committing to doing it the old-fashioned way by losing lots of games of football? Palace 1, Chelsea 3. And you wonder, Robyn, if Palace and Spurs could get dragged in, given what happened. They've got a little bit of a cushion. They're on 28 points, West Ham on 20. Maybe that's too drastic a thought. But it is sort of going wrong for Palace.
Yeah, it's really sad. I mean, they will finish 12th because they always finish 12th. Somehow they will. That's where they'll finish. But no, I mean, I think that's not a bad point. It might be forced into getting rid of him a bit early. I'm assuming he won't get a huge amount because his contract was up. So maybe they could find something to see him on his way. But no, it is really sad because it's just. Wasn't even, what was it, 5-6 months ago they were at Wembley lifting the trophy, and yeah, I think it's difficult after Glasner did what he did to kind of everyone to get back on board and just forget about that. And I'm gonna go, all right, let's do this.
I don't love you anymore and I never have, and then the next day go, well, I'm just emotional, it's fine. Yeah.
I didn't mean that really. So yeah, I think it is tricky. So maybe if they can find someone who could come in a bit earlier and be their next guy. I don't know who that would be at this stage. That's very, very difficult. I mean, they weren't actually that bad in this game against Chelsea. They had their chances. But yeah, maybe again, Jean-Philippe Mateta, he should have scored. He wants to go.
Yeah.
It's all kind of, it's all going wrong. And yeah, Mark Gay's a huge miss. He's such a classy operator. And yeah, no win in 11 now after such a great start to the season. So yeah, it's just really sad because it just seems like Palace all the time they usually sell one player per summer, someone really, really great to watch, like Elise, Eza. But now they've gone a bit too far, and maybe, they just need to rethink things a little bit.
Poor old Brennan Johnson. What do you make of the Palace situation, Mark?
I think they could get dragged into a relegation battle. Mateta wants to leave, Glasner wants to leave. The tiny squad still in the Europa Conference, so the matches will pile up again in the new year. West Ham fan texted me yesterday saying we've got them on the penultimate weekend, so they're thinking, can we get to within 3 and turn that into like a cup final? Like Wharton, lack of discipline, getting sent off. Now he misses a game. I think if there is a manager out there that they're sort of happy to take a chance on, I think I'd roll the dice because Glasner doesn't want to be there, and like the players will be looking around thinking, well, if he doesn't, he's meant to be the leader. If he doesn't want to be here, why should they run through brick walls for him anymore? And they did last season. The atmosphere as well at Selhurst yesterday. I don't know if that was just from TV, but it sounded really flat for what would be a big game for Chelsea coming to Selhurst. So there's big problems at Palace at the moment.
Obviously, the players that are there wondering, well, why do I want to play for this manager? Doesn't want to be here. Mateta, clearly. They need to sign players. And who's going to be that attracted to them? When they'll be challenging, I don't know, Bournemouth, who have a strategy for when players leave, whereas Palace at the moment don't seem to. Gay's sort of gone. It's like, I don't know. Must be someone we can sign. And that's it. If players going to, well, I'll sign now for Glasner for a few months, but then I don't know who's in the summer. He might not fancy me, etc. So they're going to struggle to bring players in. And especially when, and then your key man's wanting to leave now, Mateta. I think they're really in a bit of a tight situation, and they've got to sort of make a decision one way or another. If they do just go, right, Oliver, you've got to go. We've got to have a bit of more of a plan and have a bit of the new manager bounce, because at the moment it just seems short of it. Like Bournemouth lost defenders. They've got James Hill, who's come in and been fantastic. He's had, they signed years ago and had a couple of loan spells out. Whereas Palace, it's just a bit like, Gay's gone. Someone. That bloke that's been on the bench all season, we didn't really like, he'll have to play. And that's it. I mean, it's... I know it's a business plan, but it's not... It doesn't seem the most effective one at the moment at Palace.
Meanwhile, talking of business plans that we don't know if they're effective or not, Chelsea, like Robyn's had a good start, hasn't he? Won 4 out of 5. The only defeat was to Arsenal. And... he's managing without Cole Palmer, and I really hope he gets back to full fitness, because that's a blow if he's really affected by his injury. But Esteval comes in and he is really fun, isn't he?
Yeah, no, he's great value to watch. 2 wins in the Premier League for Rossignol. Against Brentford and Palace, so possibly teams that you'd expect Chelsea to beat. But no, it's been a very good start. I think he's sort of in danger of becoming a bit of a figure of fun with his sort of LinkedIn speak, but if he keeps winning, then that's all good. But it's just so hard to judge these Chelsea managers, isn't it? He's clearly a nice guy, and he kind of seems like quite emotionally intelligent, so I'd like him to do well, because he seems like he has good intentions and doesn't like the bomb squad and the concept of that. But it's just like I don't really know what these what's success for Chelsea. I don't know. Is it signing a load of players and then getting a profit and maybe winning the odd trophy? I suppose that is. It's fine, isn't it? But there's still protests against the ownership, isn't there? And so the mood's just an odd one, just an odd club.
Yeah, we've said that a lot of times, but I think it's a perfect answer. Look, big game against Napoli. Antonio Conte's Napoli on Wednesday night in the Champions League. There was, Mark, some exciting VAR. Darren England with the biggest, sort of observational off, bit of chat. It was like it was the first time one of them had been a human and actually said, look, I've got to explain this, right? And he also did it with a bit of like he teased them a little bit, because he thought, it's not accidental. And everyone goes, it's not a penalty. And it is a penalty. But it turns out that after all that, he was wrong anyway. But by all accounts, he didn't want to give the decision, and VAR really sort of lent on him to do it about Canvo's arm being in an unnaturally bigger position. Absolute bollocks, was it? But anyway, I enjoyed the whole thing.
The twist where the accidental and the Palace fans start cheering, and
he said, "I have always been a yellow card, a traitor," and you're like, "Yes, Darren England's a traitor. I knew it."
But you're right. you read the laws, and I think you'd struggle to make that a penalty. As Darren England said, it was accidental, and his arm was by his side from point blank range as well. Wrong decision.
Yeah, odd. Look, it's got tighter on because West Ham won and Forest won. Let's do West Ham's win first. 3 wins in a row in all competitions. On Nuno's birthday as well. The ready Brett Glow will be back after the dying Jedi look that he's had recently. And Robyn, they blew them away in the first half. Played some good stuff, scored some good goals. How odd. You don't see that at the London Stadium.
No, although actually the last West Ham game I did was when they won against Newcastle at the London Stadium. And yeah, they hadn't. I don't think they've won since. They're again. I do think they will stay up. Let's say they will, because it doesn't. No one will remember this. I think Nuno is a really good coach. He's extremely awkward to interview and talk to because he really doesn't like talking to. Well, maybe just me, but like just generally, he's a man of few words.
Famously hates Robyn Cowen.
Yeah. He just hates me. But I find it it's like getting a blood out of a stone talking to him. But I think he is genuinely a good coach, and again, he really places a lot of emphasis on the mood and trying to get everyone sort of galvanised and things. Somerville scores for the 3rd game in a row. You know, he's had a really stop-start time to his career at West Ham. He's clearly a very good player. They've still got Bowen. I really do think they have a chance. It looks like they're investing in January. And I do rate him. I just do rate Nuno quite highly as a coach. I mean, the best thing about this game was when Fernandes hit the bar and there was a fight going on during that was great, wasn't it?
Who was it? It was Mavropanos and Alderete, and it's absolutely brilliant, isn't it? Because they're just doing the rutting stag as this absolutely amazing shot. It's like they're not actually players. It's like they're just sort of they've come in from like a suburban high street on Friday night.
Just got onto the pitch,
exactly, just to chin each other while this glorious piece of football is happening around them. It's absolutely amazing, isn't it? I mean, look, Willie's Fernandes' first strike was brilliant, wasn't it? I mean, to almost get 2 of those in one game, it's very impressive.
It's the standing position. Like, there's, when players come onto it, you expect them to absolutely, whack it towards goal. But he's, pretty much stationary. He gets out his feet, and boom, and obviously did the one later on and hit the bar. But yeah, it's incredible technique to just get that, your traction engine going with a moment's notice. It's no wonder the goalkeeper. I think the goalkeeper was a bit surprised by it, and that's he got a hand to it for the goal, but couldn't keep it out because to get that sort of...
It's not the greatest testimonial for a goalkeeper, isn't it? Surprised by shots. It's just like...
Well, we go back to last week, we're talking about XG. These people aren't taking these shots, are they? Because they're worried about it. So, I mean, obviously the goalkeeper shouldn't be surprised, but that's it. These things come to shock. And now, obviously, the only problem for West Ham is that every time Fernandes gets the ball 30 yards from goal, the London Stadium's just going to shout shoot, and he'll probably oblige, and he'll never score another one again. That's the sort of general rule for these things. But really good in midfield. I think without Paqueta in there, maybe there's a bit more structure, and maybe that's helping. And it's useful having strikers on the pitch, which West Ham have not really had for a lot of the season. And they're heavily reliant on Bowen, but now Somerville seems to have found a bit of consistency. Always one of those players, very, very talented, can do it all, but generally doesn't do it week in, week out. And now if you can get a run together, then it's it'd be really positive for West Ham that they can have those 2 wide men. I'm fascinated to know from Robyn if West Ham are staying up, who's going down. So I'm really waiting for her just to pin her colours here.
No comment. Maybe just be 2. Just be 2 this
They're going to
year.
change the rules.
Be 2
That's the thing
teams.
this season. Yeah.
That's the...
So, look,
I was thinking Forest, but then obviously yesterday...
They'll be Palace next week. That'll be fine.
Well, that's it. So West Ham are still 5 points adrift. Forest and Leeds both have 25. Palace and Spurs 28. Bournemouth and Brighton 30, Everton 32. Sunderland in this game 33. Another goal for Brian Brobby. It was a brilliant goal, actually. And honestly, try it at home. If you're not sure, just having not done a Mr. Blobby impression for quite a long time, I now do it every time I watch Sunderland, and it makes me exponentially happier. Yeah, Forest won 2-0 at Brentford, Robyn, and that is a massive win for them. And then in the battle of the Igors, Igor Jesus trumped Igor Thiago.
This time, yeah. I mean, Thiago had a couple of chances he kind of snatched at, perhaps should have scored. But it was a great goal from him, wasn't it? Love that sort of upper chest control, and then the volley, and then great to see Awoniyi also on the score sheet after, you know, he's had a tough year, over a year since his last Premier League goal. Had that collision with the post last season. Then he stayed on after, I don't know, he's like, yeah, it's really bad. That was really bad, wasn't it?
Yes, it wasn't it was internal organ stuff.
Awful. Yeah, so it was great to see him score. But yeah, I was just looking at the XG. Brentford missed so many chances. They really should have taken them. It was quite a surprise result, but obviously really, really important one for Forest, especially, as we said, after West Ham's result the previous day.
Yeah, and actually on Awoniyi's goal, I mean, it was a sort of real triumph of sort of bustling persistence. But he does this feint, and I think it's Coyote slide. Do you remember Sol Campbell did that slide that went on for about 25 years? It's like that. Coyote just slides past and goes, whee, all the way, which was a nice moment. Yeah, but I mean, actually, Mark, there's been sort of murmurings about Sean Dyche. Like, they got him too soon. Like, you can't have your Sean Dyche bounce in sort of early October or whatever, because then it'll go wrong again. But I mean, we've talked about it. I mean, 5 points isn't a lot, but it still looks quite commanding at this stage.
Yeah, this was a kind of Burnley Dyche type performance, though, really, rather than, you know, maybe him being more progressive. And now's not the time, possibly, to try to do that anyway. But I think this is where he's in his element, where like Brentford you mentioned Pulis earlier on, and they play in red and white stripes, and they launch the ball, set pieces, the throws from, anywhere inside really the opposition half. Like, difficult to defend against, but Murillo and Milenkovic, it's bread and butter to them. That's the kind of football they love sort of playing. So in many respects, that was the perfect sort of manager and team, like, for Dyche. It was throwback to the Nuno era. I suppose in time, Forest do want to be more progressive on the ball and get Gibbs White into positions and Elliot Anderson playing his football. But you went through the league table a moment ago. Like, they just need to make sure they're still a Premier League team next season. And again, I'd probably be thinking that there could be a change coming anyway, because I'm not sure Dyche is going to be that one that sort of makes them more progressive.
I think obviously Forest had a really good opening 25 minutes and sort of dropped off a bit, but showed that resilience that has probably been missing for a long time, and a bit more grit. And Dyche has got back to the back five that Nuno had last season. Sells is back in net after the bizarre Victor spell, which we can all forget about after the Villa mistake. And then he's got Arne, who's been out for a long time, Milenkovic, Murillo, Williams, but very importantly at the moment, and the form's turned a bit, with Sangare's back from AFCON, and he's really good. And I think that's been very important. He's grown into that role. And yeah, I think they'll grit out the rest of the season. They signed Luca. We'll see how he gets on. I think Awoniyi will probably leave in the next week. I'd be surprised if he stayed. And I think they might sign another striker. And so that's it. They're going to look to get a finisher that they've probably lacked a bit this season. And I think they'll probably be all right.
Yeah, and actually, Arne does so well for that first goal, doesn't he? It's an amazing, because I think Brentford are really attacking. It goes on this sort of lung. I'd have to sit down halfway through and say, can we all just wait? And then I'll carry on. It was amazing run. Back to the top of the table then, Newcastle 0, Villa 2. Matt says, is it unsustainable for journalists to keep asking if Villa can sustain scoring from outside the box? What would Brazil's XG have been in 1982 should Socrates have recycled the ball to get a higher percentage chance? Their first win at St James's Park since 2005, which was the Lee Bowyer Kieran Dyer fight. They've won more points away from home than any other team in the Premier League. They're level on points with Man City. And yet, Robyn, none of us are taking them serious. I mean, we're taking them seriously. Like, it's not a sitcom, but we're not, in terms of the title, thinking about them in that sense.
No, it's weird. We still aren't, are we? Maybe we should, because Unai Emery He's just a fantastic coach, and this was a really, really good win. I do think Newcastle seem to be a team that kind of, I mean, I think they had their chances, didn't they? But they do seem to prefer playing in the Champions League, and it's kind of difficult for them to sort of raise it again in the Premier League, especially post Champions League. I do think we need to talk about this sort of sustainability, don't we? Because it's not a fluke now, is it? These are just players with incredible technique that can do that. This time it was Buendia, but we've seen Rodgers do it, we've seen McGinn do it, and I think if you can do it, why not? Why go for this sort of higher XG shot? Maybe we should sort of look at it slightly differently. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, Mark, if you can, it's not just being able to do it, it's being able to get into the position to do it, right? And okay, it requires defenders to back off, but the move that leads up to Buendia having that chance is actually brilliant football.
Yeah, and having a coach that's not going to tear you apart if you do take it on as well. 13 goals from outside the box. I would be one of those that said that is unsustainable, even if you've got the quality of Buendia and Rodgers. But like they're mentioned, like confidence, one of them things that you just can't. You can't measure. You can't have an XC, can you? For like for a confidence sort of expected confidence.
I mean, it depends what C stands for and in what context. I think many of us can. But many of us can for some things, but do carry on.
But if Buendia has 10 of those efforts and they all fly over the bar and he's not feeling that vibe anymore, he might not take that shot on because it is happening for them. They feel more confident and it's working for them. Like the front four, I enjoyed their performance from Villa yesterday. Rodgers is just so good. England have got a number of options in that number 10 role, but I just feel like he's the one that if World Cup started tomorrow would and should be wearing that shirt. And like it was an excellent performance. And you're not taking them seriously, Max. Never mind us, because I think if you were, they probably would have been second on the running order, because you'd be saying Arsenal have lost and Villa are 4 points behind.
That's a really good point.
And so,
that's a really good point.
Like I would be very surprised if they won the league, but like the primary aim here is to make sure you're in the Champions League next season. And if Arsenal and City do slip up, then be in the position to take advantage. They've got Brentford at home at the weekend, a game they should win, and just keep winning and see where it gets you.
And actually, it makes that Everton defeat even more annoying, right? Because that was one where we all did take them seriously and went, well, they've won that, and they didn't. And you think, that's really frustrating for the neutrals who really want like a really gripping title race. But maybe I'm doing them a massive disservice. Robyn.
Just a stat that really, really surprised me on Newcastle. They've not won any Premier League game that Guimaraes has missed in 4 years since he's been there. I mean, obviously he hasn't missed that many, but that's pretty stark, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought it was a really fascinating stat. Yeah, he's missed 9 games for them. Newcastle won 0 of them. And Eddie Howe said, I think we missed his ability to pass forward today. And as producer Joel said, surely you want more than one midfielder who can pass forward. But actually, we talk about with other teams, Will, this inability to pass the ball forward. I suppose it's such an oversimplification. It is that ability when you are up against a tight defence to know, you are the one who has to play the ball. It's if you get it wrong, you lose possession. So, it's to time that, to get it right, to be good at it is an incredible skill.
Yeah, the man to break the lines, as they say. Obviously, the Guimaraes stat is quite ludicrous in its own way. But I think Newcastle, obviously they beat PSV, but I appreciate they didn't win the Eredivisie, but no great shakes of a side overall. They got found out. But I did the Wolves game last week. Never really looked like scoring at a 0-0. Did the Burnley game just after Christmas. We're pretty poor in victory. Speak to Newcastle fans at the moment. They're not particularly happy with how maybe. I always think that managerial tenures have a sort of certain shelf life, and I feel Howe might be coming to the end of his. It just doesn't look like he's able to sort of keep changing things. And you say you miss one player and it all falls apart. And the football's not great. They're not got a cutting edge. And if you consider this, Voltemade and the expense they're not doing anything really. He's been quite.
And Elanga as well has been.
Exactly. That you've changed the players. That appreciate what Howe's done for that football club, but he's got to have a big final 4 months of the season, I'd argue, to justify his position. So I think the pressure's on there at Newcastle.
Yeah, they may have no cutting edge, but Joe Linton did manage to injure 2 Villa players in one tackle, which is I think it was one move, wasn't it? It was very impressive. To the Etihad then, City 2, Wolves 0. Erling Haaland left on the bench. Lars was talking about this, how knackered he looked. And actually, that 3 mark of Cherki and Marmoush and Semenyo looked really fluid and great, didn't it?
Yeah, they did. Caveat, it's Wolves. I know Wolves have picked up, but I wondered why Haaland had been playing every game for a while. Like, I know Marmoush was away, but like he played even against Exeter. There were definitely moments where you didn't need to play Haaland, or you could have taken him off when games were won quicker. And he did look like he needed the rest. It wasn't playing up at his best. And Marmoush comes in, and again, not been great this season. I expected more from Marmoush, but an important goal there. And you're right. I think Semenyo just settled in so well, actually. When you come from Bournemouth, small club in comparison to City, and Gahey was talking after the game about all the details you need to learn.
So funny, wasn't it? He really genuinely sounded like, my God, there's a lot to do here.
It is a bit, it's that sort of when you're at school and there's this algebra just going way over your head, and you miss one bit and it's all gone. So there's a lot of detail that you need, and a lot of players that play for Man City and Pep Guardiola take time to understand what is required of you, and yet Semenyo seems to have just picked it up really quickly, and a comfortable win. And they probably wouldn't have expected Arsenal to have lost that game to United, so a big boost for them.
Farai Hallam's getting the shit kicked out of him today by PGMO, isn't he? Is he a Max Rushden
my new
plant,
hero.
that ref? Yeah, I was going to say, have you made a shrine to him already?
Oh my goodness. Well, for many reasons. One, not a bald white guy from Yorkshire, absolute heaven that's happened. But also, he sent to the screen, and I think it's his first Premier League game, and he went, no, that's not a handball for me. And do you know what? I obviously don't know the handball. I think I do, but I don't want any of them to be given. So I'm not in a position to say. I'm self-aware enough to know that I don't want any handballs to ever be given. So maybe it was a penalty, maybe it wasn't. But just how great that he just went, nah, not for me. Jog on.
Darren England's deep
stuff
in their pocket. Yeah, no, he's jaded, isn't he? I think.
But that
I just worry.
Darren England was telling him to go to the screen. That was Darren England, and then Darren England the next day, does his. I don't know, who knows? But I was so delighted that he did it. Well done to Farai Hallam. Yes, Will.
But he's the first person to show how the review system should actually work. Is that if that was given, if he gave it first of all and said, "Yeah, hit his hand, can't," fine. It's probably 40% a penalty, 60% not, maybe. It's one of those. It's subjective. He said, no, I didn't see it in normal time. I didn't think it was a penalty. Fair enough. If it'd be given in the first place, he probably would have to stick with it. And that's it. That's how it should work.
Yeah, but as you're right, they'll be flushing his head down the toilet at Stockley Park, won't they?
Howard Webb's going to have
he'll
him,
He'll have Northampton next week.
He'll take his own monitor.
Sent down to League One. Oh man. But yeah, just on Haaland, interesting stat that the only striker in Europe's top 5 leagues who have played more minutes than him is Mateta. Just 1 in 8 there. But City looked really good, didn't they? Finally, Fulham 2, Brighton 1. Harry Wilson free kick to win it. Mark, I mean, it is. You sort of think Verbruggen's got to do better, don't you? He was 25 miles away. Maybe he was surprised.
Yeah, he definitely should have saved it. But Harry Wilson he's not Gareth Bale.
Player of the year?
He's not Gareth Bale. But do you remember when Bale had that season under Villas-Boas when he just shoot from anywhere and it would just go in, and there were a lot of late goals and he was deciding matches almost on his own. Harry Wilson has developed into that for Fulham. He doing the hardest thing in football to do, which is to score goals. He's creating chances. He's just in the sort of best purple patch you could be in. And Fulham, Scott Parker was mentioning sort of details and those fine margins going against them. Fulham are kind of the opposite of that, aren't they? Where they're involved in so many tight games, and then you've got somebody like Wilson that can decide a match that goes for you rather than against you. And talk about kind of a few managers leaving between now and the end of the season. Be interested to see what Marco Silva decides to do. I'm sure Fulham would love to keep him, but he might feel like his time there deserves an opportunity to push on and get closer to a team that ambitions for sort of major silverware.
I just wonder where that would be. For Harry Wilson, just seeing he's 28, so yeah, it's probably his last big sort of
I was talking about Silva. Sorry.
Oh, Silva.
Robyn, but,
Yeah, sorry.
But Wilson is. I mean, yeah. I won't tempt Wilson away. The Fulham fans will be absolutely furious.
No, I was just going to say you can see them both going to Spurs, and they're both being a disaster. Like that's that's you could just absolutely see it. There was a very tight VAR in this where Danny Welbeck was. I mean, it is where does the shoulder begin and the arm end and t-shirt lines and all that. I guess Will, there is a line, right? There has to be a line somewhere.
Offside was there, so people didn't goal hang. I mean, if someone that was given pre-VAR, you'd be like, yeah. I think the problem is that at Burnley on Saturday, where Lucas Pires headed one in for Burnley, it was about 5 yards offside. I was about 200 yards ago, no, that's fine. And it still takes a minute with VAR going, ooh, well, we better look back, and maybe he'd sort of dug a tunnel and we didn't see it, and maybe we'll check for that. It was just stood there 5 yards side, really nodded it in, But yeah, it is what it is with the offsides. I guess he was by a bit. I wouldn't have cared if it was scored. It's like Guardiola and the handball. If that was given against him, he'd probably be absolutely fuming. If a City defender had handballed it and it was given, whereas not being given because it was a Wolves defender, he was absolutely really annoyed by it. And so these things, in the good old days, want to go for you, want to go against you, to be absolutely fine.
Well, yeah, it does all even itself out over the season, doesn't it? Everton play Leeds tonight. We'll cover that on tomorrow's. Are we on tomorrow? I presume we were on Wednesday and Thursday.
I'm available.
Okay. All right. Are you? Well, that's good. Hopefully, producer Joel's going to write Wednesday soon. Otherwise, I have to change my plans. We are on tomorrow. Huh.
Robyn, what are you doing?
Are all the Champions League games tonight? No, they're not. They're on Wednesday.
They're all on Wednesday, yeah.
So you'll have to be on Thursday.
Yeah, so we are on. So what are we doing tomorrow? This is exciting.
EFL sometimes, is it?
Yeah.
Who knows? I'll find out. We're doing Everton Leeds. There we go. And the EFL.
And also Arsenal versus Liverpool, Max. You can go back over that one.
Yeah, we'll do a deep dive on Arsenal Liverpool too. Good stuff.
Good use of Bjornaby.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, I can't do Ian's bedtime again. That'll go down well. Just to say, we are getting so many questions about the World Cup in the US, and it is something, of course, we'll keep discussing. Keith says, should the World Cup be boycotted? Chance as an American, please do not come to the World Cup. It's the best thing you can do to help us through this nightmare. LeGraw, no question, just please do not come to the World Cup. Please encourage all sensible nations, people to boycott as well. Mike, how can the World Cup take place in 6 months' time in a nation which is in the first stages of a civil war? If government-backed paramilitary were executing protesters in any other country, that's what we'd be calling it. Why is it different when it happens in the US? So that we plan to do specials before we cover the tournament as well as we did with Qatar and as we didn't do and we should have done with Russia. Meanwhile, the WSL, Robyn, you were at Stamford Bridge to see Arsenal beat Chelsea. Massive result that in the title race.
Well, yeah, huge. And then the day after, Man City beat London City Lionesses just in the last minute. So they are now 9 points clear, Manchester City. So they should be winning just their second title in their history, really. They play Chelsea next week, it is a big game, but they could even afford to lose that. So, yeah, a bit of a wobble for Chelsea and Sonia Bonpastor. It's been quite surprising. Arsenal were very good value for their win, a couple of very good goals. So yeah, it's just interesting. It's kind of the first wobble for Chelsea in about 8 years in the WSL. So just interesting times.
And is Pateas going to London City Lionesses?
She was there watching.
Right.
I mean, that would be. I mean, they've signed Delphine Cascarino, who is again like incredible Galactico player. I mean, it's incredible. Michelle Kang, she's just there in her big sunglasses with her checkbook. Absolutely incredible what they're doing in London City Lionesses.
Absolutely incredible. I watched a bit of this. The band playing the Spice Girls for most of the second half and whatnot. I mean, who isn't going to sign for that club?
That is good. That's strong, isn't it? What hits were they playing? All of them?
All of them. Yeah, all the ones I know.
All of them? Okay.
Megamix.
Yeah, so Jim needs to... he needs to learn about football ownership. I think if Old Trafford...
How does that work? Like when a corner's come in, you could play Say You'll Be There on the far post. Just when you want the full-time whistle, go stop right now. It's hard. You put me on the spot here.
Good stuff.
Finally, Mbappe scored a Panenka for Real Madrid. I don't know if you've seen this in their 2-0 win over Villarreal at the weekend. And he said, for you, while embracing Brahim Diaz. Which is hilarious. I mean, that is not what that is. You don't want that, isn't it? It's absolutely not what you want. You're just going, that is just not. Of all the things, what you could have done is just Julian Dixed it into the corner and not said anything to me. You absolute bastard.
I was just healing and trying not to think about that. Thanks, Killian.
And then just unveiled the T-shirt, that's for you, Julian Dix.
Yeah, exactly. That would be really nice. Yeah.
That's for
Anyway,
Dix.
that'll do for today.